Hello everyone, SwissCore and the mission of Switzerland to the European Union organized a Swiss science briefing on alternative ways of publishing. We first asked Michael Hengartner from the University of Zurich and Swiss universities why the way publishing is done needs to be changed, and this was his response.
The current publishing system doesn't work well. There's a strong urge for scientists to publish in the top journals because they feel that their hiring, their promotion will depend on which journal they publish in, much more than what actually they discovered. And this is a sickness that the system has to change. We need to change the system. We need a system where, again, we judge a scientist by the content of his or her science, not by which label that journal had.
Why is ScienceMatters revolutionary for scientific publications? Here's what Rajendran, who founded ScienceMatters, a startup aimed at changing the way publishing is done, had to share with us.
So I don't think ScienceMatters is revolutionary, but it's disruptive. The uniqueness, so to say, or the disruptive nature of ScienceMatters is that it allows people now to publish single observations or discoveries and findings that are core in science, and not necessarily these longer narratives that fit the storytelling aspect of it. And this is exactly what people published 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and many of the reproducible studies are observations, and this is what we try to do. We try to encourage researchers to publish observations, and then they can come back and extend their observations into narratives, for example, and others can also extend, like in a modular Lego way.
We then wanted to find out what the role of research funders is in supporting new ways of publishing. Tony Peatfield from the UK Medical Research Council gave us a brief explanation.
So research funders are quite powerful in that they control the money, but the ecosystem of scientific publishing is very complicated. So what we can actually do as funders is quite constrained, particularly for public funders, where we get the money from the government. We can't necessarily do what we would like to do with it in order to try and move the publishing model. But what we can do is to try and encourage researchers and institutions to move towards publishing models which ensure that the outputs of research get made available as quickly as possible. So, for example, we can mandate gold open access, we can provide suitable funding routes to enable that to happen, we can produce policies that researchers and institutions have to follow that all point in that direction.
Finally, Jean-Claude Burgelman gave us an insight of what can be done at European level to support the transition towards alternative ways of publishing.
Okay, so what the Commission does in view of supporting new ways of publishing, first of all, we generically support any open access publication that the researchers judge the best for their own purposes. So the costs are refundable. They are part of the project team and of the project proposal, and the conditions for reimbursement. And secondly, we specifically are working with the funders and the editors on trying to move this dossier.
That brings us to the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn.